Hi, my name's Mike King. I used to be a stand-up comedian, and now I work in mental health as a social commentator, you might say, working in schools, empowering young people to find solutions to their own problems by making it okay to ask for help. For me, it started when I was going to school. I always had serious self-esteem issues, had no self-esteem. The only way for me to get out of that internal dialogue, that little wee private world that I was living in, was to be socially out there and always looking to have a laugh. And when that didn't work, I turned to alcohol. But as everyone knows who is an alcoholic and drug addict, that only lasts for a very minute amount of time, and then, it takes more alcohol and more drugs, and you end up spiraling down into a giant hole. I had no idea that the world that I was living in was anxiety, was social anxiety. I'm positive it would have been helpful for me to understand that lots of people go through this. Lots of people have these feelings, but, and I'm just normal, rather than living my life in my head and thinking I'm the only one in the world that's going through it. Well, it wasn't really until I started working on Talkback Radio. Basically, all I said was, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land, I've been lying to you for the last 20 minutes. There are no calls. And if no one calls, in the next 2 seconds, I'm going to start talking to the voices in my head. And that's exactly what I did. I closed my eyes and went, the reason no one's calling is because everyone hates you. Oh, people don't hate you. They're probably just having dinner. Having dinner, it's 10:30 at night. Who eats dinner 10:30 at night? People hate you. That's why they're not going to ring. So I had this stream of unconscious thought come out of my mouth. And my producer said, hey, bro, open your eyes, answer the calls. And I had a full board of calls. First fella I ever talked to was a Māori fella, I guess. And the first thing he said to me was, bro, I have those voices too. And, for me, that was the first time that someone else had said to me that they had the same thing going on in their head as I did. I knew people had thoughts, but I didn't realize that people had that depth of, battle going on inside their head. I had no idea why I drank and did drugs for 30 years of my life. And it wasn't until I understood that it was because my sense of self was broken that I was able to put all of that back together. How did I stop? I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. It was just, my life was completely out of control. I'd blown everything. My TV career, my family, my money. I tried to deliberately OD in Hong Kong because I just couldn't handle what was going on. I was chastising myself for being so weak that I couldn't give up, and I just saw that as the only option out. So I went and saw a cop friend of mine, and he recommended seeing a counsellor. She gave me a reason to stop. She said, Michael, your head is like a boiling cesspool of crap. It's like a boiling pot, and you've put a lid on the boiling pot, and that lid's drugs and alcohol. And it's a heavy lid because you use a lot of drugs and alcohol. What happens when you put a lid on a boiling pot? I said, well, pressure builds up and explodes. And she goes, that's your temper. And anyone who's standing next to the pot, your friends, your family, they all get burnt, and it leaves a foul smell around the kitchen for months afterwards. What we need to do is take the lid off the pot, take away the drugs and alcohol, and let's find out why the pot's boiling in the first place. That was the beginning. I think, that when that lid came off, that was the beginning for me. And I'm not saying it was easy, man. The first 4 years were tough. I thought I was never going to have another happy day in my life because I automatically related drugs and alcohol to happiness. And without them in my life, how could I be happy? There's no way in the world that I could ever be happy because, I needed these things to be happy. Drug addicts and alcoholics, we don't drink and do drugs to have fun. We drink and do drugs to run from hell. You got to replace it with something. You got to have, there needs to be more understanding, more empathy, more sympathy, and less judgment. The more you point the finger at me, the more I'm going to put up the barrier and go, fuck you. I'm just going to do my own thing. The only thing we need to replace it with is a great feeling of self. It's helping people who are in this position discover who they are, help them to understand how they got there in the first place. We need to be told we're good people. We need to be told that, we have a place in this world. We need to be told that we are valued and cared for because we don't think we are. Been clean and sober now. On April the 1st, 2016, it will be 9 years. I always thought being rich and famous was going to make me happy. It just made me miserable. I'm broke. I live in South Auckland. Never been happier.